This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And back here for episode 45 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company, I am your host, Vito Jerome Chirco, alongside my usual sidekick and partner in crime, that is the Doc, John Macaroon.
I am Smack Talker Skywalker, and I got a mic saber for a hater.
Vito, we just got done recording a Facebook Live video, and already we got editorial issues going on. Someone said, Michael Jason commented on your video and said, I'm enjoying the show. I don't think conversate is recognized by Webster's yet, gentlemen. I believe the correct word is converse.
To converse, that is true. He is right.
Vito, come on now. Did you say that? Or did I say that?
We both did, I think. You did it, then I did it, I think. I think you said it first. I'll point the finger at you first. But we can make up our own words. We're doing a podcast. Now, that's a form of a video podcast, really, so on Facebook Live. Now, do you know who that is, though? Michael Jason? That's playful fun. Now, he's pointing out something that might be true, and I think it is, but he was the radio producer, the overseer of me at UDM Radio.
Oh,
Detroit
gotcha.
Mercy. He was the guy that actually you met, too, the one time. That's him.
Oh, that's it?
Yes, he's a faculty member for the radio station at UDM, the audio engineer at the University of Detroit Mercy.
See, Vito, it's kind of funny. We were just talking about maybe you doing a Facebook Live, weekly kind of thing, contributing, talking about Detroit sports. I myself also got reprimanded regarding my grammar, and that I didn't know that asterisk is actually pronounced asterisk.
It is an asterisk. I-S-K. Well, people say asterisk all the time.
Exactly.
It's like Nick Lindstrom. It's a Lidstrom, right? People always get it messed up, Doc.
My grammar is my downfall. I'm good at a lot of things, jack of all trades, master of none, but definitely not a master of the English language. And yet, I'm doing a podcast with you. How lucky am I?
Well, you know what? We are lucky here to be on for episode 45 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. And you know what? Writing is different than talking too. So we will actually now converse here about the Tigers and their issues of late. But you know what? We always kind of dive into the Monday night game, the game before our recording, and I want to dive right into that because it's relevant to all of us, right on our minds. And we saw what happened. Tigers won the game 8-7 in extras in 12 innings. Jay up. Now, on his second home run of the ball game, he drove the first one to deep center. What a shot that was. Miggy and him, a combined distance of what? It was astronomically long. The distance of those home runs combined of Miguel Cabrera and Justin Upton on Monday night against the Mariners in Game 1 of their 4-game set against the M's. And you're going to Game 2 on Tuesday, the day of our recording here, to go watch now James Paxton, the 27-year-old left-hander, hard-throwing southpaw for the Seattle Mariners, who is averaging right now the second highest fastball velocity in all of baseball, Doc, only behind Thor, Noah Syndergaard, the ace of the New York Mets rotation right now. So you got a big matchup there between Paxton of the M's and Justin Verlander Tuesday night, a game that you're going to see, Doc, at Comerica Park.
I'm just hoping for a repeat of what we saw on Monday. It was like, in the air's thinner, the ball just travels through, and right away when you saw what Miggy was able to do, and then Pelfrey wasn't able to kind of sustain, the early success of the Tigers, he gave up a bunch of runs, you just kind of knew like, that game on Monday, you could see a bunch of runs, a bunch of home runs, and it was a great game, and it was capped off by the, 12th inning home run.
12th inning home run, Jay up, walk-off home run, and now in his last 10 games. Now, this guy could be a Toast of the Town candidate for you. I think he should be your Toast of the Town, and we'll dive back into that after missing last week with the Buster of the Week from me, which actually will be a Buster of the Season from me, and a non-Tiger Buster from me on this week's podcast. But anyways, Toast of the Town could very well be Justin Upton. In his last 10 games now, a 10-game hitting streak, hitting .310, an OPS, on-base plus slugging percentage, exceeding 1,000. 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, and 2 Monday night and the game winner from Justin Upton. He's getting it done right now, and you know what? He has to. It's more crucial than ever before in 2016 for Jay Up to get it done because of the absence of J.D. Martinez in the Tigers' everyday lineup.
Exactly. It's perfect timing. J.D. went out with that, unfortunate injury, broken elbow, really fluke kind of play, and now you're counting on Justin Upton to maybe pick up the slack a little bit, and it's good for him. He needs to have some positive memories because even though, they try to stay positive, they try to say it's a long season, when we're into June now. They know that, okay, we're waiting for him to pick it up, and if he doesn't, he's going to face the heat. And I believe that Justin Upton was starting to really get affected by the noise, was starting to kind of maybe press a little bit. But this is a guy that can hit. The issue is his consistency. He's always been around a 260, 270 hitter. He can hit massive home runs, and he's got that potential. Now he hit his, another home run straightaway center field. That first one was, I think, a little bit even more important than the walk-off home run because it gave them the lead. 7-6.
But they didn't win off of that home run.
No, they didn't. But
what's more important in the grand scheme of things, the game winner? Come on, man, right?
No, I think it's
what's more important.
No, because if he doesn't hit that home run, they don't win the game. They don't get a chance to go to extra innings. That home run gave them the lead, and then, of course, they weren't able to hold it. But, of course, both home runs had meaning. But I think the first one was maybe not a lot, but a little bit more important because it gave them the lead. It gave them a little cushion, to get into the further innings. And, unfortunately, if you had a real bullpen, it wouldn't be an issue. If you could just say, hey, if we can just get us a one-run lead, then the game will be over. But anytime we talk about the Detroit Tigers bullpen, we all have to grip and get nervous because they can't hold leads. So that's just the way it is. And, I know we're talking about the positives, but real quickly to get it out of the way, Mike Pelfrey is a guy that...
he's miserable. Say goodbye to him.
They DFA. They just need to not allow him to go out on the mound. He's not giving him a chance. And the guys on the radio were saying, like, whoa, the Mariners were running up there trying to hit because they were smoking the baseball.
They were excited. Who isn't excited when you go and face Mike Pelfrey every fifth day?
His stuff isn't good enough. Basically, his stuff isn't good enough. Do you see him at all contributing this year? I mean, they say his numbers were trending upward, but that last start versus the Mariners, you didn't give the Tigers a serious chance to win the game. So I don't see why the Tigers keep trotting him out there. I know they say that you can't just put everybody in the bullpen, but maybe you just don't need him at all.
Well, you put your second, third, fourth tier arms in the bullpen. Guys that don't make it as starting pitchers get forced into the bullpen. Relegated to bullpen duties. Mike Pelfrey at this point should be relegated to bullpen duties. Thing is, he's making a lot of money to be a fifth or fourth starter right now in the Tigers rotation, but he's not pitching up to par to be of that caliber, to be a fourth or fifth starter in the Tigers roto every fifth day. That's the problem. And it's become such a problematic scenario with Mike Pelfrey. What to do with him at this point, Doc? What would you do with them right now? Because at this point, you might consider DFAing him because you might think you have better options within your farm system.
That's a great question. What would you do with Mike Pelfrey and his situation? Can you put him in the bullpen? Do you think that he might be effective there a couple innings? I don't know because...
You already have Anibal Sanchez there, though. If you put Pelfrey in the pen, well, Sanchez has to come back into the rotation then. That has to be the move that's done. Do you want Sanchez back in the rotation right now, or do you want him to be in the bullpen for a longer period of time to refine his craft more? I mean, what do you think about that? Because you have to make that shift. You really do. If you move Pelfrey to the pen, Sanchez has to come out of it, into the rotation.
Maybe then, do you say Green has done enough from what you've seen in his time in the bullpen?
But they want him there. They want him in the seventh inning. He throws harder and he's more efficient in the seventh inning, or at least in the bullpen, because he only has to go 1 or 2 innings. He can throw harder because of that. And that's where guys, lesser caliber arms who aren't as efficient as rotation arms, they can go into the bullpen and become more efficient because they only throw 1 or 2 innings, and their velocity increases too, which increases their chances of being efficient as arms too. So I like Shane Green in the bullpen a lot more than I like him in the rotation where he has to go 5 or 6 innings, and because you have to lengthen him, that makes Shane Green a less effective arm. So in the bullpen, more effective, less effective in the rotation. That's why I think they will stick him now the rest of the way this year in the bullpen, Doc.
Yeah, okay. Well, Green stays in the bullpen. Sanchez, we got to wait and see what they want to do. But he's been okay. He's been serviceable.
He got the win last night in relief. I mean, he's been all right and been bad. He's been both in the bullpen so far, but I think he's been better, actually. If you look at the stats, he's been better in the bullpen up to this point than he was in the rotation. But once again, it's easier at times for these guys who fail as starting arms to pitch efficiently in the bullpen, coming out of the pen for 1 or 2 innings at a time instead of pitching 5 or 6. When you have to lengthen those arms to 5 or 6 innings, they become less efficient. And Sanchez has shown that. Pretty much every single start he's made this year up to this point, he has shown that he is less effective after he gets into the 5th inning. He's really a 3 or 4 inning guy, and that's why he's an effective long reliever, much more than he is starting every 5th day in the Tigers rotation, Doc.
Yeah, it's a dilemma. It's one that you really got to figure out because right now there's a cavalcade going back and forth up and down I-75. It seems like every week there's sending up Buck Farmer, Kyle Ryan. They're trying to do as much as they can to figure stuff out. They brought back Rondon. it's an interesting situation with the Tigers and their pitching staff because the offense has been okay up and down, but really the weakness of this team has been the pitching. And it's unfortunate because they sold us, the fans, that in the offseason that they upgraded this bullpen and the starters should be competitive. And really, 3 through 5 is a question mark. The bullpen has been inconsistent. And did you know last week's ERA for the bullpen was 9.75? You can't win like that in this league when you send out guys and they can't keep leads. Or you have a closer in a tight game, maybe in an extra inning game, and you don't bring him in. So I don't know. I think it's a big mess, and they got to figure it out. But with Rondon coming up, maybe with Pelfrey getting out of that starting rotation, maybe they just send him down, or maybe they just skip a start. Maybe they just need to skip him one start, let him rest, let him refocus.
They have to at least do that, I think, at this point, Doc.
What do you think they should do?
I think really they should DFA him because they're not going to send him down. I think he's out of options. He's too advanced into his career to send him down because there is a point in a pitcher's career and a player's career where they don't have options remaining to be sent down, which means you have to DFA them. So you have to move on completely from Mike Pelfrey, I believe, at this point because you have Shane Green already in the pen. You have Anibal Sanchez already in the pen. Those are long relief-esque guys in the pen. So especially Anibal Sanchez.
If you DFA Mike Pelfrey, you got to pay the whole contract.
You got to eat all that money. That's why they're going to skip a start right now. You skip a start, that's the most wise decision to make right now for the Tigers with Mike Pelfrey. Now, I wanted to bring up, too, Kyle Ryan being brought back up. He got it done last night, though, against Robinson Cano. Struck him out. He looked good. Now, I was thinking to myself when they called him back up, why is he up with the big league club? But they're not sufficient with the pen. We talked about it. They don't have a lot of great, reliable options outside of K-Rod and Justin Wilson at times because Mark Lowe's been miserable. But Justin Wilson wasn't totally sharp last night on Monday night against the M's either. Now, he's got good numbers. When you look at his fielding independent pitching, it's a 1.69 FIP. That's really good and the best of his career. And his whip right now is nearly the best of his career as well. But he's got to improve his consistency now as a left-hander out of the Tigers' pen, too.
Vito, we got, as a psychologist, I do a lot of diagnosing of issues, what's going on with people. What is wrong with the Detroit Tigers bullpen? Why is it a cavalcade of a disaster? Why is it that every single day they're shipping guys down, bringing guys up? Why can't they find consistent relievers to get guys out? What the hell is wrong with this bullpen?
Well, a myriad of problems, right? It's more than a closer, eighth inning guy. It's not just, it's really not totally that. It's Mark Lowe to a certain degree. It is. In the eighth inning, he's not been efficient enough. But the middle innings, too, we need the middle inning relievers to be more consistent and reliable every single time they come out of the pen for Brad Ausmus and the Tigers. And they haven't been that up to this point in the season, and that's a big, glaring error. A glaring void in the Tigers' pen right now, the middle inning relief arms. Who are you going to turn to? Who do you have to turn to? Now, Shane Green's been good, but how good will he be the rest of the way? A guy that's been a starting pitcher his entire career, realistically, up to this point. How good can he be going forward? And can Alex Wilson turn around his season? Can Justin Wilson be even more effective going forward? And Rondon, can he be something down the Tigers' pen in the middle innings? If he can, they have a stronger middle innings to get to the eighth and ninth innings, which is what you need out of a good bullpen that wants to have a team or is part of a team that contends. If you want to compete, you need a better middle innings myriad of relief pitchers. You need better, more effective guys in the middle innings to sum it up, to get to the seventh, eighth, and really to get to the eighth and ninth innings, where Mark Lowe also has to be better in the eighth inning specifically, or he might be DFA'd and out of town quicker than you think.
To keep it simple, Vito, the relievers in the bullpen have hittable stuff. It's not like
a lot of them do.
Yeah,
you're right.
So what happens is, to keep it simple in baseball, you got to throw strikes. You have to go up there when it's crunch time and be able to throw strikes and find a way to get guys out. What happens is, and what you're seeing, what I saw last week was these guys would get up there, and when it was their turn to do something, whether it be Lowe, whether it be Farmer, whether it be Kyle Ryan, they would not throw strikes. And then when you get behind in the count, 2-0, 3-1, then it becomes much more predictable that you're going to have to throw a strike. And these hitters are professional, and they wait for their advantages in counts. And then what would happen is they'd have to throw right down the middle, and they'd get hit. And it's a situation where they don't have guys that just go up there and throw 99 and get guys out. They're a little bit more crafty. They have to kind of, paint the corners, use a lot of sliders, use a lot of, use pitches to their advantage to get guys out. Hittable stuff. Well, these guys, that the Tigers are throwing out there aren't just that good. They're not good enough. And so Kyle Ryan, Buck Farmer, Hardy, these guys aren't good enough. Okay, those guys should not be anywhere near a major league roster right now. They're still developmental guys, 4A players, AAA players, whatever you want to call them. They're not good enough. I'm sticking with Justin Wilson, Alex Wilson, Bruce Rondon, K-Rod, Sanchez, and Green. Now, they're just trying to find one or two more guys that they can consistently put up there. And so you got to find them. Maybe it's Jimenez from the minors. Maybe you make a trade for one or two more guys. But
how about Fernando Rodney, pitching really well right now?
Bring him back?
Bring him back to town. Why not?
Depends on the cost. Why not?
You know? So he's that guy that pitches good every other season, it seems like, Fernando Rodney. And he's really been good every single place he's pitched at. So I would like to see him maybe be brought back to Motown. And that's a possibility, but Joe Jimenez is the other one for the middle innings to strengthen the middle innings and to deepen that bullpen from the middle innings to the end of games in the ninth inning with K-Rod. But the problem is, you brought it up, a very good point, Doc, about how the fact that when you get behind in pitch counts as a pitcher, especially when you don't throw that hard, such as Mark Lowe, you become less and less effective to the point where you're throwing meatballs over the middle just to get back into a pitcher's count, because the hitters have the advantage when the pitchers are behind. When they're behind and, down 3-1, 3-1 on the count, that's the hitters' big time advantage. And they can mash that if you don't throw hard. And that's the case with Mark Lowe. So once he gets behind 3-1 strike to a batter and to a really good batter that can hit the ball too efficiently, well, that's when you give up the long ball too. So you can't get behind in counts because you end up having to groove one over and you get mashed. You get mashed when you don't throw it hard, such as Mark Lowe. So, and the Tigers have other guys like that, as you said, in their bullpen as a whole, too. They don't throw it hard for velocity. Don't throw it 95 or 96 and 97. They don't throw it that hard, so they got to groove it over when they get behind in the pitch count, and that leads to big hits from the opposition. So they got to try to correct that by maybe adding an arm such as Fernando Rodney and or by bringing up Joe Jimenez, who throws hard and has had a 0 ERA now all of this season, okay? As well as that includes Double-A Erie, his time there, which is where he is right now. So call him up because he can throw hard, and you need that right now, at least for the middle innings, to lengthen and deepen the bullpen for the Tigers, Doc.
Okay. Do you see by the end of this year the bullpen being an asset instead of a liability? Right now, they're the biggest liability on this team. We're still waiting for them to turn it around. It feels like forever. It feels like 20 years since they had a good bullpen. We're still waiting for the Tigers to put together an effective staff where they can go out there 4 out of 5 games, handle the job, and not give up a boatload of runs. Did you see that game versus Kansas City where they gave up, I think, 9 runs as a bullpen unit? It was horrible. They got blown out. Was it 6? They gave up 16 runs, starters and bullpen combined. That's not effective. That's not good enough. You can't send out Romine to pitch and have him look a little bit better than the guys you're sending out there. It's a total embarrassment. It's a combination of issues with the manager and the general manager. Put together guys that can do the job. Why are you trying to bring in guys every other day or so? Hardy, Ryan, Lowe. They bring them up in terrible situations as well. What was your take on the whole Hosmer, Shane Green situation where in the KC series where it was shown statistically that Hosmer was crushing right-handed pitching? Brad Ausmus leaves Shane Green in there. Hosmer gets the job done instead of maybe potentially bringing a left-hander. Now the odds of
who are your options? So Hardy,
right.
you already defeated your point by saying
right.
Hardy's been horrible. So you don't want to bring in Hardy, and Shane Green's been more consistent and effective, even as a right-hander facing Hosmer, who has an advantage maybe against Green more than he would against a left-hander. But we don't have those efficient left-handers to throw out there against big bats in the middle of the Royals lineup, such as an Eric Hosmer. So in that situation, I don't totally blame Brad Ausmus for leaving in Shane Green to sum it up. And Rodney, let's look at Fernando Rodney, maybe a trade candidate for the Tigers, pitching for the Padres in a great pitcher's ballpark at Petco Park in San Diego. Has a 0 ERA, so forget about where he's pitching. A peerless 0 ERA in 25 games pitched. And in 25 innings, 25 and a third innings pitched. Exactly a 0 ERA for Fernando Rodney. He has been good every single place he's been to as a relief pitcher in his major league career outside of the LA Angels. So, and that was a while back now in 2010 and 2011 with the Halos of LA. So since then, really, really good numbers. And peerless, like I said, in 2016 so far. So pick him up. What is it going to take to make a trade with the Padres for Fernando Rodney? If it's not going to take a lot, if it's not going to take Joe Jimenez to get him, which it probably won't, and the Tigers, won't give him up for Rodney. So if that's the case where you don't have to give him up, well, you go and get Fernando Rodney, because I would deal somebody else in that farm system outside of Daniel Norris, or outside of Jimenez for Fernando Rodney to strengthen that bullpen. Or you just hope that, once again, Joe Jimenez gets it done when you call him up. And why are you wasting time with Jimenez in Double-A Erie right now? Don't you want to contend to win the division crown in the AL Central this year? Don't you want it? Isn't that the plan, to win now? If it is, which is what we believe from Mike Ilitch, the owner, from Alavila as well in the front office, then you got to call him up right now, because Jimenez probably gives you the best chance to win in this day and age with the Tigers, to win this season with the Tigers. So you do that, then you maybe add Rodney as well to really strengthen the pen. Or at least you got to call up. If you do anything, you got to at least call up Joe Jimenez. No doubt about it, in my opinion. And call him up sooner than later, Doc.
Okay, he's got good stuff. You see him potentially coming up and having success at the big league level?
Could be like a Joel Zamaya impact. He really could be that. You know, Joel Zamaya was really good in the middle innings.
Let's use a guy that stays around, not a guy that whenever he picked up something kind of.
Well, he picked up the guitar and got hurt. Right? I thought he threw out a ceremonial pitch a few weeks ago. I thought he was going to bring out the air guitar too when he threw out that ceremonial pitch. He was really good in 06. Got to give him that much credit.
Wasn't one of his injuries like lifting a piano, moving or something?
Lifting boxes too, moving
Crazy.
somebody in. Yeah, it was some dumb stuff. It really was for Joel Zamaya back then. But he was a youngster, had some problems off the field with that, with getting hurt there, doing something that maybe he shouldn't. But it was like something, you almost can't even say that he shouldn't have been doing it. It was just moving boxes. What the heck happened there? And it ruined Joel Zamaya's career. It was never the same after 06 truly either. So, but that's a topic for another day. The premise here is I want to see Joe Jimenez called up sooner than later. And he really should be if the Tigers want to win in 2016, Doc. Okay. And with that, anything else that you wanted to add about the bullpen situation?
No, I'm looking forward to the conversation with Ryan Ford from the Free Press, and then we'll look to the series, the future ahead versus Seattle, the 3 remaining games, and a big series versus Cleveland this weekend. So I'm looking forward to the second half of the podcast.
Absolutely. Maybe the biggest series of the season is against Cleveland this upcoming weekend. And, Doc, let's get to now Ryan Ford after this quick commercial break here on Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. Vito Chirco here for Top Cat Sales in downtown Royal Oak, Michigan. Looking for team apparel for your high school, your club sports team, or corporation? Then look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak, between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan quarterback John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the very highest quality and the very best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going online to TopCatTeamSales.com. Once again, Top Cat Sales' website is TopCatTeamSales.com. And remember to follow Top Cat Sales on Twitter at Team Top Cat. And now joining me on episode 45 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company is Ryan Ford of Detroit Free Press, at the Ford on Twitter, too. Ryan, what's going on today?
Just, sort of recovering from last night's Marathon Tigers victory.
Did you go to the game, by the way? I know you have season tickets and whatnot. Were you there to take it all in?
I was there for all 12 innings. I was actually rooting for the Mariners in this one.
Yeah, I know you were. I know you're a Seattle Mariners slappy there and have some ties to the M's. And you know what? I wanted to talk today, first and foremost, about the M's of 01 and comparing and contrasting that club to the NBA's Golden State Warriors from this past season, who went 73-9, as you know, breaking the record for wins in a single season. And it was a great season, historic season for the Warriors, but they fell short, as we know, in Game 7 of the NBA Finals to LeBron, King James, as he's well known as now, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And your M's back in 01 had a great ball club, as we all know, but they fell short, too, of capturing a World Series crown, and they fell in the ALCS to the Bronx Bombers in 5 games. Now, do this for me and my listeners, Ryan. Compare and contrast that ball club of the Seattle Mariners in 2001 that went 116-46 to this past season's Golden State Warriors.
Well, I think the thing about this year's Warriors was they were expected to be good all the way along. I mean, they were the defending champs and won quite a few games last year too. Whereas those Mariners kind of came out of nowhere. The Mariners had good teams pretty much from 95 on, but they'd actually lost 3 superstars in each of the 3 previous years. They lost Randy Johnson in 99 to trade. They lost Ken Griffey in 2000 to trade. And then they lost A-Rod in free agency after the season, so before the 2001 season. And then they went out and did something crazy, went ahead and signed the Japanese, he was called the Japanese Michael Jordan, or the Michael Jordan of Japan, I guess, Ichiro Suzuki, the best hitter in the Japanese baseball, who was 28 at the time. But no one really knew whether that would translate to American baseball. And then they went out and just absolutely slaughtered the league. I mean, at one point they were 80-30, which is just a mind-blowing number, and kind of stormed through the season. And so that was very similar to these Warriors in that they started out hot, almost never lost, almost never had a losing streak, or at least almost never had a losing streak of more than 2 games. The Mariners' only losing streak of more than 2 games was 4 games in September, which is pretty similar to the Warriors. I mean, I don't think they lost back-to-back games all year until the playoffs. But so yeah, I suppose the differences are Mariners kind of did it out of nowhere. Warriors were expected, but at the end, the results sort of ended up the same. Although the Mariners didn't, as you noted, didn't make it even to the World Series.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
Stinger.
Falling a little bit short, and that is a stinger that you probably feel still to this day, Ryan Ford of the Detroit Free Press on the line with me here. And wanted to also say that Steve Kerr never had lost 3 games in a row as a head coach in the league until the finals. How about that fact as well, thrown in there about Kerr losing 3 games in a row in the finals, first time ever losing 3 games in his head coaching career in the NBA. Quite the fact right there that I found out about after the finals concluded. And now, the 0-1 Mariners are the 2015-2016 Warriors, who lost in Game 7 Sunday night to King James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as I said earlier. Who had the better overall season of those 2 squads, though, in your opinion, Ryan?
I'd have to say the Warriors. I mean, while 116 wins last forever, not making the World Series and losing to your hated rival in the playoffs is just, it's a crusher. Whereas at least the Warriors can say, you know what, we have the wins record, which, you know, doesn't really mean anything without a title, but they went 7 games in the finals. I mean, and even then had a chance to win it the final 4 minutes. I mean, they're going to remember those 4 minutes for a long, long time, but at least they were there. They were virtually even with Cleveland the entire way. I think Cleveland outscored the Warriors by 3 total points in the series, which tells you how close the series was, even though it was a series of back-and-forth blowouts.
Yeah, no single-digit games until Game 7. They saved the best for last in the 2016 NBA Finals, to say the least, between the Warriors and the Cavs. But moving on now to some more Mariners trivia and history. And Ichiro Suzuki, the 2001 AL MVP and Rookie of the Year, recently surpassed MLB hit king Pete Rose for the most hits not in MLB history, but in professional baseball history, with 2,980 career hits stateside and another 1,278 hits in Japan as a Nippon professional baseball player. And it says something about what he did there, Ichiro, in that Nippon Professional Baseball League. So I wanted to ask you here, with the MLB hit king having all those hits now over the course of a 24-season big league career, stateside, now that's 4,256 hits in Major League Baseball, but 2 less than Ichiro as of the time of this recording on Tuesday afternoon. So with all that being said about Pete Rose and about Ichiro and what he did both stateside and in Japan, is it smart or dumb to say that Ichiro is the real hit king then?
I can't go that far. I mean, I love Ichiro. I was in Washington in 2001. I covered his first spring training with the Mariners. I love him to death. But Pete Rose is the hit king. I mean, at some point, Major League Baseball is better than Japanese baseball. I mean, it's impressive that Ichiro racked up so many hits in Japan, especially considering they play about 130 games as opposed to 162 in America. But at the same time, it's roughly a quadruple A level baseball. I mean, how many times do you hear about former Major League players who couldn't really hack it here going over to Japan and absolutely raking? Tigers' Casey McGahee had a career year over in Japan after he basically washed out of Major League Baseball, which isn't, I mean, stars there can come over and be stars here. We've seen it multiple times, but at the same time, it is a slightly lower level of baseball. It's not quite, it's above AAA, but it's not Major League Baseball like Pete Rose is hitting it all the time.
There is a big difference there. And Pete Rose even kind of came out and said himself, or, he kind of acted like that these Japanese professional baseball players and really these guys that watch Japanese baseball are from over there in Japan have kind of come out to criticize Pete Rose or have had an attack on him, is what Pete Rose has kind of concluded himself. And I don't know if that's really true, if really people are trying to go after Pete Rose because of that, that they have like a personal attack, a vendetta out against Pete Rose to some magnitude. But he's made it seem like that of late. And we know Pete Rose, though, he always has some thoughts that are unique, too. We know that about Pete Rose, to say the least, though, as you know, Ryan.
Absolutely. And, on some level, anytime you talk about Pete Rose, it's a loaded subject because then you talk about betting on baseball, and Pete Rose will take that as an attack on any discussion of Pete Rose's status of the game. Pete Rose takes very personally because it's a major part of his livelihood, and he'd like to be reinstated and put in the Hall of Fame. And leaving that aside, you just can't take away those hits. I mean, those hits it's a lasting record. I've heard all sorts of attempts to sort of discredit him, saying, he got so many of those hits because he was the manager and he was putting himself in every day, which there's some credit to that. But at the same time, he was getting the hit. I mean, at some point, what you do in the batter's box it does speak volumes about your abilities.
Yes, it still does. And, even if there are people in Japan, current players, former, like I said, guys that have played that maybe are saying Ichiro deserves some more cred, and maybe they're calling out Pete Rose for not thinking that Ichiro deserves all this cred. Well, still, at the end of the day, just deal with it, really, Pete Rose. Deal with those guys, those naysayers of you, and you still know, like you said, what Pete Rose did. And at the level of competition, at the end of the day, it is truly not the same, as you also elaborated upon, Ryan, already today. And really, that puts an end to that discussion, although there will always probably be some sort of a debate, as Ichiro also nears hit number 3,000 in his Major League Baseball career. But I wanted to move on now to also the starting pitcher going Tuesday night for the Mariners. 27-year-old left-handed starting pitcher James Paxton, who has made 4 starts so far this year and has averaged 97.5 miles per hour on his fastballs, which is good for the second highest average fastball velocity this season. And it trails only New York Mets starter and ace Noah Syndergaard. As I bet you already know, Paxton never recorded an average fastball velocity above 94.8 miles per hour in a single game until this season. Now, tell me this, Ryan. What has made the difference for Paxton this year? And how do you believe the Tigers' bats will fare against the hard-throwing southpaw on Tuesday night?
Well, I think for Paxton, as you pointed out, he's throwing much harder much faster than he ever had before. But on some level, he's been a Mariners prospect for almost 5 years. It's been 5 years of waiting for him to put it together at this level. It's not that he wasn't pitching well. It just seemed like every time he'd get going strong, he'd hurt himself. He'd pull a muscle, obliques, shoulders, just everything that could get hurt seemed to get hurt every season. And so part of that, I think, is that he is finally healthy and he's showing what he can do. As far as I have no idea where the actual added velocity came from, because it's been incredible. I see a lefty throwing 100 miles an hour. Well, nothing will ever quite bring back the memories of Randy Johnson in the Mariners uniform, and certainly the deliveries aren't quite similar, but it's a heck of a thing to see. And I think the Tigers, they'll do all right. Losing J.D. Martinez will certainly doesn't help, but anytime you have Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and Nick Castellanos, they can hit lefties remarkably well. Who knows what Justin Upton will do?
Yeah, you never know about Jay Up, but he has improved of late. How about his progress of late? His last 10 games, 10-game hitting streak, hitting .310, and OPS exceeding 1,000. Talk about his progress of late, too, with the Tigers, and how crucial he is now because of the absence of J.D. Martinez in the Tigers lineup.
Well, it's absolutely, as you said, crucial. He's sounds simple to say, but he's putting good wood on the ball. He's making good contact. It's not to say he's not being fooled. He struck out twice on Monday night as well, but he also walked. He absolutely crushed both of his home runs. So it could be he's turning things around. It could be that teams are not entirely afraid of him. And I know a pitcher that gave up the game winner on Monday night, Vidal Nuno, does have a tendency to give up a lot of home runs in his career. He's a former starter turned reliever, so that can explain some of that. But I will say that the home runs that Upton has gotten in the last week, he homered, I think, twice in the series against Kansas City. Granted, they were garbage time home runs, but still, almost none of his home runs have been cheap. They've been solid glass, 15, 20 feet beyond the fence. So I think it's a good sign. And, the book on Upton has always been he's a streaky hitter. He'll be cold, he'll be hot. No one expected the coldness to last 2.5 months, but, if the hotness lasts for 2.5 months, that could take the Tigers' offense into a whole new level.
Oh, definitely. And once they get JD back, if he's healthy and full form, well, they got a really deep lineup. And they've already had a deep 1 through 9 lineup, and especially in the middle of the order because V-Mart has hit Miguel Cabrera, who hit a bomb as well. How about the home run that he hit Monday night, along with Jay Ups to dead center? The combined distance on those 2 home runs by the Tigers Monday night against your M's were tremendous, right? Tremendous distances. And talk about that. And when you saw those home runs leave the bats of Miguel Cabrera and Jay Up, respectively, what did you think about the distances yourself?
Those are two of the Cabrera home run absolutely is one of the farthest home runs I've seen hit in Comerica. The only that I've been there for personally. The only other ones I can think of really, I saw Cabrera hit one that actually hit the batter's eye just under the car on top of the fountain. Hit the ivy of the batter's eye, and it was hit on a line. If the batter's eye hadn't been there, I think it would have gone entirely out of Comerica. And then, of course, J.D. Martinez putting one on top of the camera well in center field. And of course, Miguel Cabrera has gone into the camera well several times. Upton went into the camera well in April. It's actually surprising. Upton is showing that same power that Cabrera has to go to dead center, which, I don't think it takes a special hitter to get it out there. Cabrera is the only guy I've seen do it consistently in 10 years at Comerica Park. Well, I guess Cabrera's had 8 years, but.
Yeah, it takes a lot of muscle, right, to hammer it out to dead center where it's 420, maybe even more than that. And those dimensions aren't something to play with. You don't play around with that, and guys don't just poke it out. You got to have legit power, legit muscle, and all that good stuff. And hey, I know one thing. I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be hitting it to dead center, so I'd be lucky to get it out of the ballpark. And a lot of guys, a lot of major leaguers even would be lucky to hit it that far in to dead center where it is, 424, 20 plus maybe even at Comerica. So now the starting pitcher for the Tigers on Wednesday night I wanted to talk about here really quick, Ryan, and it's Michael Fulmer, who had his scoreless inning streak come to a halt the last time he went out for the Tigers, and he will face veteran Japanese right-hander Hisashi Iwakuma on Wednesday, who sports a 4.18 ERA through 14 games, 14 starts on the season, that is. And who do you got then between those two guys on Wednesday night, Ryan? And will you be at the game once again?
I will indeed be at Wednesday night's game. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Homer, great rookie season. Iwakuma having a bit of a down season. He's been a solid number 2 for the Mariners for several seasons, and actually had earned a multi-year contract. He signed a multi-year contract with the Dodgers during the off season, but failed the physical and ended up coming back to the Mariners on a 1-year deal. He hasn't been quite as successful, hasn't quite found his form. He does have a no-hitter in his resume, but I don't think he'll do that against the Tigers on Wednesday. I think it'll be a good pitcher's duel, but I don't know. I mean, Fulmer faced a tough task. The Mariners actually have surprisingly deep lineup. Well, I guess I'm surprised, having seen the Mariners for so many years, not have a lineup, but Robinson Cano is having a fantastic season. Nelly Cruz is still crushing the ball, and Kyle Seager is earning every penny of his $100 million contract. So it's going to be a little bit different challenge than the guys Fulmer has faced, although he's faced some very good lineups and shut them down. He was excellent last week against Kansas City. He didn't get the run support. He only gave up 1 run, though, so that should be enough to win most times. So that should be quite the matchup.
Yeah, Cano right now, Robbie Cano, don't you know, is putting up Brett Boone-esque numbers right now. 19 home runs, I believe 53 ribbies, third in ribbies, second in home runs. Now, I know through 40 games he really had a rapid pace, maybe not as much of late, but still great numbers. And Boone put up those numbers back in 01, I believe, and Cano's looking just like Brett Boone and maybe even better, and right now on pace for 38 home runs. Through 70 games about here, if he plays 140, he's going to hit 35-plus home runs. That'd be a great rate there out of a second baseman for the Mariners, where I know they always haven't had the greatest second baseman, offensively speaking, to say the least, Ryan, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, that was a major reason why they went out and gave Cano I believe it was a 10-year, $240 million contract, because second base has been a serious problem pretty much ever since Boone. And Boone had that great year. He had another couple of solid years after that as the Mariners won 93 games in 2002 and 2003, but never really hit that plateau again for whatever reason.
Maybe roids. Suspected of roids. We kind of think that with him, huh? How that production came out of nowhere.
It's been raised, and that was the era. Freakish home run bursts. You're just ruining all of my memories of the 2001 season, aren't you?
I'm trying to kill you right now. I really am. I'm trying to take away from Ichiro by talking about Pete Rose, too. I'm trying to kill you totally. All your 01 memories. But, hey, it was a great season. And now, this year's team, it's looking like they have a chance at least to make the playoffs. It'd be the first time, I believe, since that 01 club did it. So be great for the M's to do it this year. And they're standing at 36-34 as of this podcast recording on Tuesday afternoon. And the Tigers are at 500. 35-35 after Monday night's extra innings contest, which saw the Tigers come out on top 8-7 via that Justin Upton walk-off home run. And it got me thinking, Ryan, who do you think will finish with the better 2016 record, your M's or the Tigers?
I like the M's chances, even though they still have plenty of games against the Rangers in the West. And honestly, it pains me to say this, but this is looking like the Rangers' year. They just keep finding ways to win. But I still like the Mariners' chance to finish with a better record. They also get to play the Athletics multiple times. That sort of makes up for it. And the Tigers, Justin Verlander is great. Homer has been fantastic. Jordan Zimmerman has been outstanding for the most part. And then it's tough when you're, kind of giving up 2 spots in your rotation every 5 games. But then again, their offense, if they hit, then they have to win a bunch of 8-7, 9-8 games like they did on Monday night. But I think the Mariners' success so far is actually legitimate, especially considering they haven't had the services of Felix Hernandez for at least, I think he's been on the disabled list for 3 weeks. No, I think a month. And for them to be winning, they've had injuries to Taiwan Walker, who's another young star pitcher, a young prospect that they've been trying to develop. And for them to be this solid despite all that, they're a very solid team. There aren't that many holes in the lineup, which is a very odd thing for me to be able to say about the Mariners. Because at least the past 3 years, they've gotten almost nothing from the catcher, designated hitter, and center field spots. And right now, those are being filled fairly decently. Chris Iannetta is at catcher, having a solid season. He gets on base. He doesn't hit for average, but he gets on base, which I'll take. DH has been filled sort of by a rotation of guys. Obviously, Nelly Cruz is in there, and as is Seth Smith. And then center field, Leonis Martin, the Mariners got in a trade with the Rangers in the offseason, has been fantastic. He missed about a month with injuries, but when he's playing, the Mariners' offense and defense are light years better than they are without him.
You know what, Ryan? There are not many flaws in your arsenal either here. Every single time you bring the heat, too, on Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company, and I'll let you go with that, my man. You have a good one, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
And thanks to Ryan Ford, as usual, here on Tigers Talk. This is episode 45 alongside Doc. We talked about the debate between Pete Rose and Ichiro Suzuki, who's really the MLB hit king now. Pete Rose has the numbers to back it up. In his major league career over 24 seasons, he did accumulate the most hits of all big leaguers. Okay, so he did do that. He has a record, and rightfully so. But Ichiro now, with more hits combined between playing in Japan and stateside. What do you think? With that debate, who do you favor in that debate, Ichiro or Pete Rose, Doc?
Talked about it in the past, been widely debated, but I think it was just for publicity. It's Pete Rose. It's about the Major League Baseball hit king. Ichiro is a great hitter, no doubt about it, professional, but this all was kind of drummed up. It's around June. There's not a lot of news to make. You're kind of looking at some races. You're definitely looking at, potentially today, or I think it was earlier this week, you had Kershaw. Was it Kershaw versus
Strasburg? It was going to be Kershaw versus Strasburg, and then Strasburg had to sit it out. Monday night, this was Monday night too, because of the heat. He had a back.
I was looking forward to it.
Because of the heat. The heat got to him in L.A., and Kershaw dominated. As a 1.57 ERA.
What is he like? Is he like 11-1?
11-1, and a 1.57 ERA right now.
He's dominant, but there aren't really. Do you notice really big storylines in baseball? Not a whole heck of a lot.
Oh, really? We're talking about already the offseason, or people coming up with expiring deals like Bryce Harper, $500 million man. Is he worth it? I think Yahoo Sports or somebody just wrote a story about whether or not he's worth being paid that much money over 10 years, and that would be like $50 million plus per season. They're talking about that, at least $50 million annually for Bryce Harper. Is he worth it? Is anybody worth it in Major League Baseball today? I'm kind of doubting that, even as great as Bryce Harper is, and as great as a guy like Pete Rose was, and all these legends, would they be worth $50 million per season? And then really making news of late. I brought it up with Ryan and kind of rambled on there, but Pete Rose talking about all these naysayers from Japan coming out and having a vendetta, like a personal vendetta against Pete Rose. Really, Pete, you got to bring all that up? Really talking out of his behind, in my opinion, to bring that up and make it a story. And now it has been highly talked about. Pete Rose making those comments, and, he's trying to take away the heat from the big story from Ichiro, accumulating all these hits combined in Japan and stateside now. And Ichiro is in his 16th season. So he has done something good. He's nearing 3,000 hits, 20 hits shy of it right now at 2,980 for total hits in his major league career. Spent the majority of his career with the M's and went to the Yankees. Has tailed off since, but I saw a stat line for this year, hitting 349 actually with the Miami Marlins this year's Ichiro. So a heck of a season for Ichiro. He's old. He's an old guy. He's still hitting 349, so I got to give him a lot of credit. And I think he deserves more credit than a guy like Pete Rose is willing to give him. And you know what? He's bitter, right? It's sour grapes there for Pete Rose, Doc, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, nobody wants the record to be broken. And it's, of course, when Major League Baseball pumped it up a little bit, too. So I know Major League Baseball kind of wants to move away from Pete Rose and all his shenanigans. Pete Rose, I mean, seriously, is just a diabolical liar. He just pathological. He is,
yeah, because he's used to it. His stories are lies. He believes it. He believes all his lies to be true. That's what he is. He is a pathological liar. That's why I'm not going to take anything from what he's saying about people saying in Japan, they have a vendetta against like, I care about what you're saying, Pete Rose. Nada. Go away. Shoo, and he should really go away at this point, Doc.
All right, before we get out of here on this fine episode of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company, how do you see this series shaking out versus Seattle and the upcoming series versus Cleveland at home?
Honestly, against the Mariners, I think they'll beat Iwakuma with Michael Fulmer on the mound Wednesday night. But Tuesday night, the night of this recording, I think they're going to lose to James Paxton, who's been really good. Like I said, throwing this heat, velocity that's second highest in the bigs consistently. So I like Paxton beating Verlander head-to-head, actually, on Tuesday night in the game that you're going to. So sorry to you. Don't cry too much about the Tigers are losing potentially tonight when you're there at Comerica. And then Wednesday night is a third game of the four-game set. You're not going to be there. Ryan Ford said he will be there. He loves his M's. And I think the Tigers beat his M's, though. With Michael Fulmer on the mound, I think he gets it done. Maybe he won't have another scoreless inning streak going forward. He's young. He's raw. He's prone to mistakes, giving up a long ball here or there and some runs. And the M's have proven they can score more than they have in recent memory. Robbie Cano has 19 home runs. I mean, he's hitting at a rapid rate and much better rate than he did in the first half of last year. And they have Nelly Cruz at DH. He loves himself. Ryan Ford does. Loves himself some Nelson Cruz. And really all M's fans do. So I like their lineup more than last year. I like what they can do against Fulmer a little bit. I think Fulmer pulls it out against Iwakuma, who's an aging vet. He had an injury concern where he failed a physical, as Ryan Ford brought up too. He signed with the Dodgers, failed his physical, got out of that contract. It became void. Then he signed with the M's. And honestly, at this point, a 4.18 ERA, I don't like his odds against the Tigers' potent lineup, which is even more potent, more deep because of J-Up hitting. And I really think we didn't even get into the Indians part of this yet, but that's, in my opinion, before I give a prediction for it, that's the biggest series of the season for me.
The series versus Cleveland?
Biggest series of the season for the Tigers. And Doc, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, first, before we talk about Cleveland, obviously today is National Selfie Day, so we took a picture. And,
that's why I forgot about it.
Your number one fan is on the line, so let me set the stage. Vito has a fan that loves him some Vito, loves the podcast network, a guy that definitely supports our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Steve is on the line. I want to see what he's got for us today. Steve, what's going on? You and Frazier?
Yes, sir. What's up, fellas?
What up, Steve? Thank you so much for dialing in. Vito's definitely listening attentively. What you got for us?
Just sitting here. Vito, where have you been, buddy?
I've been busy, my man. I know you've been loving the fact that I have been away a little bit. I know you've been missing me, though, too, at the same time. And it seems like kind of a love and hate relationship between you and I, Steve. Is that true?
No.
Can we say that much?
No. It's all love, baby. It's all love.
It's all full of love? Okay. Well, I love you. I love you. You tweeting at me all the time, constantly. It's hard for me to keep up. I mean, I've been traveling for Somebody, football, trying to keep up with all your tweets at me.
I see you at the football camps
I
with
know.
the Harbaughs, and I see you, you're everywhere. You're VIP, man,
Yeah, I'm the VIP, the MVP. I know Doc has called me the VIP. You have too, Steve. Show me a lot of love on Twitter, a lot of support, and I always appreciate it. So keep those tweets coming. Keep the comments coming on Facebook. Roll them out in my favor, positive, negative, whatever it is. I'll take it, and I love it. I love your support all the time, Steve. Doc?
Well, Steve, I want to know, what do you think about the Tigers so far? I know we're rapping back and forth a little bit. They got a great victory Monday night. Game 2 is tonight. JV on the mound versus a prominent left-hander for Seattle. How do you think this game's going to shake out tonight?
Well, last night was fun. I mean, taking Cabrera out in the middle of the innings, I don't agree with that. I mean, it's just, I still think Brad needs to go. He's not the right fit. I mean, burning Cabrera like that to take him out in the extra innings, that was wrong. And J.F. bailed him out. He's hitting a home run. He's starting to hit the ball. He's starting to look at it. So finally they're starting to play, but it's just, I'm not a fan of Brad. He's got to go.
He has to go, but the thing is, I don't think he's going to go because the Tigers have done better of late. Now, they had that tough stretch on the road there, didn't fare too well, but now at home, they're picking up where they left off, kind of doing better at home now, where they have to do better. They were 4 games above 500 at home going into Monday night. Then J.Up delivers 2 home runs, a game winner. He's hitting of late. And Osmus, I would love to see him go, but like I said, I think they're doing too well right now. So unless they have another multi-game losing streak of the 8, 9, 10, really probably 9 or 10 game variety, unless they do that, which I hope they don't as a Tigers fan, but if they do, then he might be the guy that gets axed because he would be the scapegoat, and he has been for all their struggles up to this point. But struggling, they were doing that a lot. Now going forward, for you, Steve, what do you see this Tigers team progressing to be, eventually becoming by the end of the season? Will they be a team above 500 that finishes atop the division, or at least in a playoff spot via the wild card? Or will this be a team that suffers another sub-500 campaign?
Well, they got to fix the bullpen. I mean, that's number one. And they got to cut ties with Pelfrey. He's a waste of $16 million. He has not shown me anything on the mound. He has not shown me once. Al said, he was my number one. That was years ago. You got to go out and you got to go get a starter. You got to bring up Norris and cut ties with Pelfrey or put him in the bullpen. And Sanchez in the bullpen, I like it. I like Green in the bullpen. If they can fix that, they have the offense. They just got to fix a little. They just got to tweak the starting lineup and the starting pitching and the bullpen, and they'll be fine.
Steve, thank you so much for dialing us up. We appreciate your support, man. I know it makes Twitter fun when we get a chance to interact with
I have one question before I go. You guys grew up, which one of you grew up in East Point?
That would be myself, Doc. I grew up in East Point.
You did. You grew up in East, so did I.
Yeah, I grew up, you know where the East Detroit Bakery is?
Yes, I do.
Yep,
I remember it.
Yep, I grew up down 2 blocks down that street, right next to the old Cantner Elementary. That's where I went to elementary school.
Oh, yeah, I grew up at the old collision shop right there at 9 Mile.
Yes, sir. I'm a fellow East Point guy, East Side guy. I stayed around town. I work now out of Sterling Heights, Michigan. So, and as you know, we're close. We have a great sponsor with Fanatic U out there by Frazier. So I've been an East Side guy my whole life, and that's how it will be. I will always support the East Side. I'm always consider myself to be an East Point boy. So that's where I came from.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm the Fanatic U in Frazier is actually about 2 minutes from my house. So I go in there quite a bit.
Yes, sir. I'd always tell them Doc and Jock sent you. Thank you for your support, man. We greatly appreciate it. Makes it fun. Message us anytime with whatever you got, man. It's always good. It's good fun.
And Vito, you're my number one, buddy.
Thank you.
We're going to have to break bread one time.
And you're Italian, right? You're a fellow Paisan?
Sicilian, my friend.
Oh, good. I'm Sicilian too, actually. Isn't that something? We're both Sicilian. Because you don't always hear that, and people kind of criticize Sicilians too for not being the true Italian bred, men and women. And I don't know why that is, but I've always heard that critique.
I've heard that a little bit, but
yeah.
Not too much.
Well, it's time to cut that out, and you know what, Steve, I appreciate you coming on, and wanted to tell you guys, my dad's also from East Detroit, went to East Detroit High School, so when it was East Detroit and not East Point, so a fellow connection there with East Detroit.
In East Detroit, now it's East Point. You're right.
I know. It's been changed up, but
I still go back to the old neighborhood every now and then.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you for calling in once again, and we'll talk to you again coming up soon here on Tigers Talk. All right?
All right, Vito, you stay. You're not going to have to break bread because it'll be cool. I got a place that you'd love to. You could do your show there. It's really cool.
Sounds like a plan, man. All right, you have a good one.
All right, see? You see how fun the power of Twitter is? We threw out the line, and he called in. Steve, big fan. Finally got to hear him. And you know what? Actually, I can be honest. I thought Steve was maybe somebody that couldn't put a sentence together. I thought...
You and I both. Didn't I say that before, too? But he's a fellow Paisan who can speak. And he's Sicilian. I'm Sicilian, and he has that East Detroit connection with you and my dad. Isn't that something? When it was East Detroit Now, you were there growing up when it was East Detroit, too, technically?
Exactly. And so, they wanted to change their name, make it East
Silly.
Point. It was silly.
To get away from Detroit, from that distinction. But come on, man.
That's
what's
the rumor.
So bad, right?
It was silly, but for us fellow, East Siders, it's always going to be East Detroit. That's where I grew up, and Steve grew up there too. So give him a shout out. Follow him. He's prominent on our Twitter page. His Twitter handle is @SteveShamenti. Your number one fan.
He is my number one fan, and he dialed in to talk with you and I today on Tigers Talk for episode 45. And by the way, we're true Italians. Sicilians are true Italians too, so cut out that crap about us not being true Italians. Anyways, now a true hitter and slugger of late is Jay Up, who we've talked about ad nauseum here. He's got to be your toast of the town, Doc. Tell me he is, please. Or is it somebody else?
Toast of the town? No. My toast of the town is a guy that made MLB history. A guy with a significant streak that was talked about all across Major League Baseball. The Doc's toast of the town for this week, Michael Fulmer. Congratulations on your scoreless streak. You made history. I think he got second in terms of rookie pitchers and having a scoreless streak. The only guy that had a longer streak was the great sensation from the Dodgers, Fernando Valenzuela, took over, came on as a big sensation. But Michael Fulmer, was it like 33 and a third innings or close with a scoreless streak? He was awesome. It was recently broken, but congratulations, Michael Fulmer. You're the Doc's toast of the town. Have a seat.
What kind of wine and a meal for Michael Fulmer this week for toast of the town?
Pasta with a great marinara sauce. Wines, I'm not really, I guess I'm going to...
We always say the same thing, don't we? We kind of go to the same one.
Yeah, the $8 wine shop. Whatever.
We're not accustomed to drinking wine. I'm not a wine drinker, connoisseur by any stretch myself, Doc.
We'll share a beer then. Beer and pasta.
There you go.
Whatever.
Maybe a summer shandy for the summer. At Copaw even, or somewhere nicer. But now my buster is not a buster of the week, but buster of the season, and it's a non-Tiger. How about Texas Rangers DH, an occasional first baseman now, Prince Fielder, the former Detroit Tiger, barely hitting 200 this year, Doc, at 202. And he has 5 homers and 34 RBI, through 67 games. Not good. And it means that by the time he gets to game 140, if he even plays in 140 games, he will only have about 10 home runs and 68 RBI. That is runs batted in. A low rate for a guy that used to hit above 100 RBI per season on the regular for the Brewers when he hit 40-plus home runs, all those RBI totals, and big astronomical amounts. Now, he might only get to 10 home runs, 68 runs batted in by the end of the 2016 campaign. He has fallen mightily, and he's making $24 million per season this year and for the next 4 seasons, and the Tigers, as we know, are paying $6 million per season. So this year and the next 4 for Prince Fielder's contract there in Tejas. And Tejas wants to get rid of that contract badly. I know they've even talked about eating all of it, but it's a lot of money to eat, so they probably won't buy him out. But he is my buster of the season so far, too, with that being said. And I think rightfully so, Doc. All right, he has stunk it up so much.
All right, now, Tigers this weekend have a 3-game set versus Cleveland. They're 0-6 so far. How do you see this matchup with the Cleveland Indians?
I'd say they win at least a game. I'm not too optimistic because Cleveland Indians have beaten us up. But we're at home, where I think we're going to start playing better. We showed it coming into Monday night, doing what we did, winning the way that we did. So I like that. Obviously, how am I not going to like that, right? So I think they can do well against the M's here, who are about the same kind of a club. Now, I know Ryan Ford said they're going to end up better, but he's biased. Come on. He's an M-slappy. But for me with the Indians, I say they win a game at least. I'll say that. But I really do think Tigers with Upton coming into form, that they can win the series. But they're not going to sweep it. So I'm going to say at least 1 game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win 2 out of 3 against the Tribe this weekend because the series is at Copa. So I like the Tigers' chances based on that factor, to tell you the truth, Doc.
Okay. I think the Tigers are going to be motivated to play well. I think they take 2 of 3. I think they win the series, they play well, and I'm hoping that what I want to see is manager Brad Ausmus start making decisions that actually help the club. It just seems like whenever it's time for him to make a managerial decision, it blows up in his face. I talk about it time and time again. I want to see him make key decisions and continue to do them. He's done a couple. He's made a couple of decisions that have been, that have worked out in terms of maneuvering the lineup, putting people here and there, moving people up and down. But I want to see the Detroit Tigers play well versus Cleveland, finish out the series strong versus Seattle. They'll be around 1 or 2 games above 500 when we record next. That's what I'm thinking. I think a good week lies ahead for the Detroit Tigers. There, you happy? Some positivity.
I like it. I want more optimistic attitudes, viewpoints expressed by you, and you're showing that today here on episode 45. A great week's edition of Tigers Talk, and I hope they win 2 out of 3 as well. And honestly, I believe it could happen, but I'm going to be safe here, play it safe, and say they win 1 at least. But the Indians, long term, like I've said before, Mike Napoli leading that offense. I don't know about him leading the offense the rest of the way this season. They can't rely on him totally the rest of the way. And you got a guy in Rajai Davis helping you out, too, on the base pass. Has 21 stolen bases already. But he's another kind of aging vet. Really is an aging vet there for the Indians. So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to keep it up. And that's why the Tigers have a chance to come from behind and take the division crown from the Royals. They won it last year, and obviously they fell to the Tigers in 2014. And the Tigers last year of winning the division crown up to this point, Doc. And with that, I appreciate everything from you and Steve and Ryan Ford as well.
Great podcast. Looking forward to episode 46 next week. It's going to be a fun one. And, the season rolls along. It kind of feels like we're treading water with the Detroit Tigers, but we have to keep focused on the positive storylines. And let's see, because it's about that time maybe we can start looking at potential trade rumors going on around the MLB and in the AL Central. And let's see what these Detroit Tigers can pull off. Maybe it'll be something good, because if they stand pat, forget it. I'm off the bandwagon.
They need a rotation arm big time. And we'll talk about the trade candidates next week on episode 46 of Tigers Talk and the last edition of the podcast for the month of June as well. So we'll talk to you this Wednesday for 45 and for episode 46 next Wednesday on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, courtesy of Top Cat Sales 2. Doc, thank you very much. Have a great night as well. Tuesday night watching the Tigers against the Mariners. And we'll talk to you next week, guys. Goodbye.